Hello and welcome to yet another installment of Project Sanity. I'll be your main host today. My name is Nis Pedersen. I'm joined by my partner, Richard, who's focusing on the tech side and doing the news. Today we are bringing you an exclusive interview with Trang from Washington State. She's a Bernie Sanders delegate. She'll be giving us some of our beginning inside scoop on the convention in Philadelphia, and also be taking questions from our audience and from ourselves on the whole process of being a delegate, about what kinds of things that are happening right now as a delegate. We will also be bringing you a heavy discussion on Brexit, the EU and the US. There seems to be quite a lot of confusion about what the Brexit is, what it means, and about what the EU is and what it means, and to what extent you can compare it to the US. And all in all, a very heavy show, and we will be joined by Brandon, or also known as a BS Opinion, and Adair, for a four-man roundtable on the EU and Brexit, where we have some differing opinions, so that will make for quite a good show, we hope. So without any further ado, we are on the Benjamin Dixon Show channel, and this is Project Sanity, and here is Richard with the news.
Thank you, Nis, and I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight on the Benjamin Dixon channel, as you mentioned, so please subscribe. Just so you guys are aware, part of our convention coverage will be kicking off our new channel, so we'll be getting that set up shortly, and we'll have one of the people that's helping us with that and reporting on the TPP joining us when we're done with some of the news, so look forward to sharing that with you guys as well. But before we go any further, I want to hop into our headlines. And so some of the news that's been coming out, one of the big ones that came out that a lot of people are hearing or reading about, is the Pentagon has lifted its ban on trans troops. And one of the quotes pulled out of it in a report by Sunnivi Bridham, I want to say, from The Advocate, is these are the kind of people we want. And so Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense, in a news conference today, said, quote, effective immediately, transgender Americans can serve openly, and they can no longer be discharged or otherwise separated from the military just for being transgender. And so that's a huge announcement for a lot of folks. I think the number was somewhere between 1,400 and 6,000 transgender troops currently serving in the Army, so I'm not exactly sure how that ban was implemented. But according to their own estimates from the armed forces, there was about that many people, transgender people, serving already. But now they don't have to fear about getting kicked out for being transgender. And along with that, there's a lot of other things that are coming along with that I'll go into more detail. But one of the other quotes from Ash Carter was, the Department of Defense needs to avail ourselves of all talent possible in order to remain what we are now, the finest fighting force the world has ever known. He went on to say, our mission is to defend this country, and we don't want barriers unrelated to a person's qualifications to serve, preventing us from recruiting or retaining the soldier, sailor, airman, or marine who can best accomplish the mission. And having a quote from the Secretary of Defense about transgender people and about not disqualifying them from doing their job, which is one of our most honored jobs in the country, I think speaks a lot towards taking steps forward in other transgender and other LGBTQ issues regarding getting states on board with not allowing people to get fired based on those qualities and discriminating on being a member of that community. And so I think that having such a strong endorsement or a strong quote coming out of the Secretary of Defense again is huge. As far as what that means for people, transgender people either looking to join the military or already serving, that no longer than 90 days from today, the DoD will issue a guidebook for leaders of trans service members and issue medical guidance to doctors who will begin providing all medically necessary transition-related care to trans people currently serving, which is a change because under the old policy, transgender troops had to seek outside third-party transition-related care from non-military doctors and pay those expenses out of pocket. Now the military will be paying for things like hormone therapy, transition surgery itself and various other aspects that are related towards transitioning or being a trans person in the military, or just being a trans person in general. So any other specific health or conflict or issues that arise out of that. Within a year, all of the branches of the U.S. military will also welcome new transgender recruits. So some of them are still working on getting these guidebooks out and so on and so forth. So it's a process, but so within a year, they're supposed to have all branches accepting transgender troops. The conditions are they must have completed a medical treatment their doctor has determined to be appropriate, and they have to be stable in their affirmed gender identity for no less than 18 months. This is kind of similar to some of the already existing things regarding transgender folks. They mention in the article that this standard is similar to the international guidelines endorsed by the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, which generally suggests that trans persons live as their authentic gender for at least a year before they undergo specific gender-affirming surgeries or seek a legal name and gender change. And so that's big news from the military and for the LGBTQ community, and so I wanted to cover that. Another news coming out of the Supreme Court, there was several decisions that came out of the Supreme Court. One of the ones that may not have gotten as much attention is that they ruled that rules that warrantless forced blood draws for DUIs are unconstitutional, meaning that if you're pulled over for a DUI, that they can't force you to give them blood, and so that they can test it for toxins. They did allow for breathalyzers to still be done, or they can't do it without a warrant, I should say. They can still do breathalyzers without a warrant. And so essentially, in the majority opinion, according to reporting from the AP and the Free Thought Project by I'm going to butcher this name, Sermopoulos, and writing for the majority opinion, Justice Alito said that breath tests do not implicate, quote, significant privacy concerns, and unlike blood tests, breathing into a breathalyzer doesn't pierce the skin or leave a biological sample in the government's possession. And this particularly applies in states like Washington, where currently the law for DUI testing for people under the influence of cannabis is through blood draws. This means that they would not be able to, under the current law and the current working, be able to constitutionally tell whether somebody was driving under the influence of cannabis. Going into a bit of commentary, I think that draws attention to the need for a system in which we test people's ability to drive based off of their ability to drive, not by the amount of a particular substance in their system, particularly with elderly citizens, people on prescription medications that aren't well known to cause driving issues, and all sorts of other things that can cause things. But beyond that, going back to the opinion on the warrantless forced blood draws, in a separate opinion, 6 justices agreed with Alito's opinion on breath tests. Justice Clarence Thomas went further to say that he doesn't think that they need warrants. They should need warrants to get to force a blood sample. But in a separate opinion penned by Justice Sotomayor and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they vigorously defended the rights of individual citizens. Sotomayor went on to say that she would have required search warrants for both breath and blood alcohol tests if it was her opinion that was the final opinion, and stating that there's no government interest in that makes it practical for an officer, or it makes it impractical for an officer to get a warrant before doing those things. The counter argument was in rural places where there may only be one judge, you have to call them late at night and wake them up in order to get a warrant. The argument was that that's not justification in order to use the broad dismissal of getting warrants in order to breach somebody's Fourth Amendment rights as far as search and seizure. And so, one of the last headlines I wanted to mention or get into some depth was that there's also problems with the NSA, I'll just start with The Intercept wrote a piece titled "Secret Rules Make It Pretty Easy for the FBI to Spy on Journalists." So while the Supreme Court was making this decision on our individual Fourth Amendment rights, there's a larger effort going on between the NSA, FBI, and other agencies regarding, and this particularly pertains to the FBI rules that were released to the Intercept recently. And the classified rules dated 2013 that govern the FBI's use of what are called national security letters, which allow the Bureau to obtain information about journalist calls without going to a judge or informing the news organization that they're being targeted. You probably heard about this with Josh Rosen and some other journalists a little while back, where the FBI was basically looking into their phone records and doing these things without informing either the news agency or the individual that they were being investigated. And so essentially within these rules, there's supposed to be an extra step under the rules if the NSL targets a journalist in order to identify confidential news media sources, quote, end quote. And in this case, the general counsel and the executive assistant director must first consult with the assistant attorney general for the Justice Department's National Security Division. That's a kind of convoluted way of saying that it has to go through some checks and balances, and one of them is the Attorney General for the Justice Department National Security Division, who is essentially supposed to be a reasonable arbiter. Now, the thing is that if they're trying to identify a leaker as opposed to looking into the journalists themselves, they don't need the Justice Department to be involved. And so it's essentially the FBI signing off on their own things, and this makes it what seems to be, or from many media advocates and other groups, seems to be too easy of a pathway in order to get information on these journalists. The type of information that they were getting was things like, they say it was limited to just the basic records, so like who they were calling, the length of calls, but there's talks about the FBI is pushing for these NSLs to be expanded so that they're able to track down internet search history on people's phones. This would include journalists, citizens, and anybody that they're able to get some people to sign off on as saying that it's in the interest of national security. And so there's a great piece, again, it's at The Intercept by Cora Courier. It was came out today, so make sure to check that out if you get a chance. Some of the other headlines I wanted to mention, but we don't have time to go into detail. Jesse Williams' BET speech. He mentioned police brutality, appropriation class, critiquing the actions of the movement, and then a lot more. So if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Watch some commentary on it. Try and find the part in whole. It was a very powerful speech. I've seen at least parts of the transcript online. So if you can't find the video, at least be able to get a chance to read it. There's lots of great stuff in there. It was a very powerful speech, and if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Also, it's been just over a year since the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage, and I thought that was relevant considering what we just saw from the armed services and allowing transgenders to serve openly. Also, in a little piece of somewhat international news, and that may touch on some of the things that we get in Brexit, U.S. officials said that there was a Russian warship that came dangerously close to a Navy ship that was providing security for part of the mission fighting ISIS in the Middle East. And so they put up a signal that said that they were that they had limited maneuverability, yet they seemed to follow the U.S. ship despite repeated calls over the radio to cease and desist and to maintain a safe distance. And so on that note, things are boiling all over, and I will pass it back to Nis to take us to our next piece.
Yeah, okay. I mean, in what world can we be celebrating that not only gays can serve openly in the military, but now also transgenders on the same level as everyone else, and at the same time go, but hey, of course it's okay to completely violate the privacy rights and integrity of any and all journalists who might have access to a whistleblower's information. So I feel like during the Irish thing, having one half of my face in sheer joy and the other in sheer terror, but good news for some, at least. What we will be bringing you now is one of Richard's favorite things, and one of the things that we want to bring more of here at Project Sanity. We want to build not only a bigger segment in our news segment, but an independent segment on grassroots and community news. So we will be introducing to you a viewer and former county delegate, Eric Miller, who has joined Project Sanity to help us with editing, to do reporting, and he has put together a package for all of us on a TPP protest. He was out and interviewed politicians, interviewed organizers, and after we've seen this package, this piece he has put together for us, we will have a nice chat and conversation with Eric, telling us about the experience and about joining Project Sanity and being a delegate.
All right, and with that, I will lead us into the video.
We will continue to advocate, agitate, rally, calling on our federal delegation. That's Derek Kilmer, Denny Heck, Suzanne Delbene, Patty Murray, Maria Cantwell, to say no to this stinky deal.
And I've been thinking about Brexit and the Supreme Court's decision, or their lack of a decision, that left immigration policy in the hands of a xenophobic lower court. And I've been thinking about Donald Trump as a candidate for president. And I've been thinking about this in the context of our work to defeat the TPP and other trade policies, bad trade policies. And frankly, I'm worried. The political tide is turning, and it can turn in a really good way, or it can turn in a really bad way. For decades, the economic rules have been rigged in favor of the corporate elite. Trade deals benefited corporations at the expense of working people. Jobs were lost and not replaced. Workers in other countries have been exploited, enslaved, displaced, all in the name of profits. In the US, like in the UK, we failed to make needed investments in infrastructure and energy and job training. And when all of this has led to an economic crisis, we implemented austerity measures.
Let's get this straight. Big corporations have a lot of money, and they use it to elect politicians who will bend to their will. The TPP is just a tool, and it's going to put in rules that will greatly benefit global corporations.
So even if the only thing you care about is beating Donald Trump, the way you beat Donald Trump is to have a Democratic Party that stands for something and stands against the TPP. As we say, finally, in my union, what do you do when you're under attack? And we are under attack. So let's hear it together. What do you do when you're under attack?
Stand up, fight back!
Fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Sisters and brothers, stand up and fight back!
But we, the people, as we stand against TPP, we stand together to show the way in Washington State that a local economy can be healthy, green, and just. Together with Washington State Labor Council, we, the people, are advancing an initiative that will raise the state minimum wage and provide paid sick and safe time to all workers.
TPP is corporate greed, and trade deal is what we need.
Scandal after scandal in corporations, from Enron to Tyco and all that. I watched, the housing market collapse, and I thought, how can this happen in our country? And I've watched this economic inequality, this disparity grow and grow, and to the point where I just can't stand and do nothing. I refuse to believe that we are powerless, and we just have to accept it.
The granny is, can everyone just give me a big no TPP?
No TPP! No TPP! No TPP! No TPP!
Thank you. So the Bronco is what we stand against, and Vivas is what we celebrate and lift up. And so we say abajo to Monsanto and corporate rule. Abajo. Abajo to bigotry and homophobia. Abajo. Abajo to TPP and I-732. Abajo. But what we stand for is for La Familias Unidas and farm worker justice. Que viva!
Que viva!
Viva to the local green just economy. Que viva!
Que viva!
Viva to the Council of Islamic American Relations and to the gay communities and immigrant communities that are standing united against hatred. Viva! And viva to fair trade. Viva!
And we're back. Yeah, so thank you very much to Eric for putting together this good piece of reporting. So we will now be joined by Eric, the creator of this video, who has also joined us as an editor on all our previous stuff, and we have of course dumped everything we possibly could on his lap, as editors who work for free are few and far between. So Eric, why don't you say hello to our audience?
Just got to get him unmuted here.
Yeah. Okay, Eric, say hi.
Oh.
And we appear to be having some technical difficulties. But then again, it would not be a Project Sanity production if there weren't some technical difficulties of some sort. We would just be weirded out too much by it. So, in any case, Eric, he has joined us. Richard met him at the Washington convention, in which both Eric and Richard voted for Adair, who has also joined us and is also working on the convention coverage that we're trying to put together. And Eric has, as said, he has had his own channel called We the People Politics, where he has tried to put together some footage of what's happening in the grassroots community and trying to raise the level of debate and discussion. And when he heard about Project Sanity, he joined us, and he has simply jumped in both feet and is hopefully gonna do a lot of amazing things for us. He's already put together this piece and was able to edit it. Up to 10 minutes before we went live, putting it together. So amazing work he's been doing so far. So Eric, you just try and talk and chime in randomly, and when we hear you, we will say so. But we'll give it a couple of minutes. If it doesn't sort itself, we'll just have you say hi to our audience at a later date. Yeah, we still can't hear you. I'm sorry, mate. Okay, so if you check your mic settings, you do that on the little wheel up the top, then to the top right corner, you check your mic settings there and other things and try some stuff out. I'll just keep the talk going. So we here at Project Sanity are expanding massively at the moment. And if you're just joining us and you don't know who we are Nis Pedersen, the ex-Viking, formerly of Denmark, now of North Carolina, and Richard Green from Washington State. And we are the co-hosts and co-founders and co-creators of Project Sanity. We have in the wings a lot of people working with us. Some of you may remember Dave Coennen, who have put together pieces for us the past 4 weeks running. You can find him at Fields of Burn TV, and Richard Greens, you can find him at Progressive Greens, and me you can find at Scandinavia, because it can't spell Scandinavia when making Twitter accounts apparently. And we are on the Benjamin Dixon Show channel, where he very magnanimously lets us live here until we get our own space created. And if you are interested in other Progressive Army shows, there is The Way With Anoa, and there is the Louise Project 2017, which you can find at Louise Proj 2027. And you can find The Way With Anoa at Miss Nono Esquire. And other than that, is Eric back up? It does not seem... Eric, try talking again.
I think we might have got it.
Oh, there he is. Okay, Richard, let's get him on the split screen. Okay, Eric, say hi to our audience.
Sorry about that, guys. I tried it before, and I guess not everything works how it's supposed to. But I'm Eric. Richard kind of brought me into this, and I'm really...
And for completely no reason, the sound just went away again. Okay, so we're going to have someone drop by Eric and look at his rig. But Eric, I'm sorry, we have to move along in the program. We will introduce you at a later date. I don't know if you could hear it, but I did give a bio on you and what you do. So as I was saying, here at Project Sanity, we are having some growing pains. We are bringing in technical production people. We are bringing in citizen journalists. We are bringing in people with contacts, people with know-how. We're bringing people in without know-how. If you're interested in helping, even in the slightest ways, we have links in the video description linking you to a submission form where you can take stories that you find important, that you want to be brought up, and you can submit them through there. If they're grassroots or independent news or corporate news, we have two separate submission forms. If you have your own material, you can contact us at the aforementioned Twitter handles. If you don't have any material, if you don't have any know-how, and you just want to help out, you can try and talk to us here in the chat, or you can again contact us at our Twitter pages, at our Facebook pages. We have recently created and tried to breathe life into a G+ community called Project Sanity community, where you can find us and do submission and talk to other like-minded people. So all in all, if you want to help out, or if you just want to meet others that also like Project Sanity and what we're trying to do here, you can find us at these places.
On that note, I did want to mention that Lakeisha Rankin shared with me, and I'm not sure if she shared it in the Project Sanity group or not. I know she's been participating in there, but a great video from Telesur US about it's about propaganda, and it had a great title. I'm blanking on it now, but it was an amazing video. I watched it while I was prepping for the show, and I listened to it while I was prepping for the show, and I plan on going back and listening to it again. So, Lakeisha, thank you for that. Keep sending those in, and other people, if you find great video pieces like that that either relate to something that we've talked about or something that you think we are going to talk about in the future, please send them our way. Nis has mentioned the submission sheets that we have. You can send them to us, send them to me at Twitter at least, and that's a good way to get at me. And just please keep doing that. I love seeing the stories and hearing what you guys are saying, so keep that up.
Yeah, so when you guys link things to us, even if you don't see it immediately on the next show, they at the very least goes to, I want to call it a database, but I'm not a programmer in any way. It's a collection of spreadsheets that we hope some coder at some point is going to make sense out of. But they're going into these spreadsheets that I'm making on specific, on different topics. So, for example, on the Clintons, we are making one to make so that we can make in-depth reporting and in-depth segments on these things at a later date.